probably by 9 o'clock. He had an appointment that he had to attend to.
Oh, he's here already.
Oh, sorry, Brett.
Morning, George.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. I guess we'll call it to order. Called order. Any corrections to the agenda at all? Anybody got anything else they want on the agenda? Okay, didn't hear anything. Disclosure of pecuniary interests on the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Anybody? I hear none. Next, approval and adoption of the minutes. So July the 8th minutes, everybody's got them, I think. Is there any changes or anything that we need to do? Oh, boy, this is quiet here. I guess information items. County of Wellington Economic Development Update. Mayor Linton.
Yeah, there's not too much to update today from a county side of things. One of the things that we are working on at an economic development side of things at the county is attainable housing, but we report in through that to our Healthy Growth Advisory Committee rather than here. So we're moving ahead on that. Just a quick update on that. We're moving ahead on that. We have a meeting right after this meeting to look at moving ahead from a county perspective on getting towards a pilot project for attainable housing somewhere within the county as quickly as possible. So that's kind of what's happening after this meeting, and I'll make sure I keep you guys informed as well as the Healthy Growth Committee informed on that side of things. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about. As far as the county goes, if anything comes up in the course of our discussion here, I'll make sure I bring it up, but there's nothing really Center Wellington related with the things that we're doing at the county right now. And I'll inform you if there is.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Linton. Next item 5.2, Brett, update on the community improvement plan.
Okay, thank you, Don. Just to update this committee, I know we've talked in the past about updating the CIP, and in between the 2020 township budget and the 2021 budget, we've got $50,000 budgeted now for update to our CIP. And fortunately, in both years, we've received grants through the county economic development funding. So that $50,000 is being paid for out of the county economic development fund. So that funding was secured in June of this year. And we've since gone to council with a report partnering with the county, in fact, on retaining a firm called RCI Consulting that are really the Ontario experts in CIPs. So we've hired them, and they're on board. They're going to work with both the county and the township to update our respective CIPs at the same time. And at the Healthy Growth Committee, we have a subcommittee that's looking at financial incentives. So one of the things that we'll bring to the table is some incentives that are specifically related to increasing the attainable housing supply. So that's my update.
Okay, I'll maybe just elaborate on a little bit on that through Healthy Growth, which we'll have that a little later. George, the economic development update.
Okay, as there's a report that's attached to the agenda that you all should have. And that report outlines some of the activities that I've been involved with. The first item is the Economic Development Strategic Action Plan. That's that lengthy document that McSweeney and Associates prepared, and as this committee is probably well aware of, and there are a number of key strategic objectives. The first one that I'm focusing on is the Economic Development Strategic Action Plan, specifically becoming more investment ready. And this committee has been involved with that on a number of fronts. Obviously, the first item being how to increase the availability of industrial land, And with council's approval back in July 26 of the strategy, a number of things have been underway since that. The EA, the archaeological assessments are underway, and I think Brett could speak to that in more detail, but they're nearing completion, haven't been completed, as well as Brett and I have been talking about lot sizes, how to begin to plan them based on current inquiries, what makes sense for the business park. The second item is the undertaking an investment readiness assessment, which is another action or initiative from the investment ready strategy, which is we looked at the community profile. The community profile was last updated in 2013. So we are retaining McSweeney and Associates to update that. It's in the budget, it's needed. And then related to that is the quick facts. I've done some work with Kendra Martin, the communications officer. We've done a quick update. We'll upload it onto the website, but we're going to do a revision of that in the first quarter of 2022. In addition, the Business Park Subcommittee has been involved with looking at the draft industrial land inventory. I prepared a draft inventory of a number of sites that gave me great feedback. I've been modifying it, mapping it, and I'll be able to table it back to the committee. I've actually did the revisions and be able to table that back to the subcommittee next meeting, as well as all the mapping. And I'll be working on the second phase, which is the commercial land inventory. And the third item related to becoming investment ready is creating a database of commercial industrial space, which we hope to upload onto the website. We're going to try some pilots. I'll be working with Greg Wolowich, our GIS coordinator, to try some pilots of what it could look like before actually putting on the website. Ones with realtor registrations and ones without. And that's related to the actual economic development action plan. The next item is the marketing fact sheet for the business park. What we're trying to do is we've drafted a revision. Again, the subcommittee gave some great input. We're going to give you another scenario. We're working on that right now, Kendra and I, what we look like when we start the business park and when we're more advanced with sales. There were some comments made, what would the sites look like under contract? And we're going to do a couple of versions that I'll table back, and then we'll table it back to this committee. But we'll be working by way of the Business Park Strategy Working Group. In addition, we've talked to the committee, the Central Wellington Business Park, what the land sale process would look like. And there's a series of steps that we're going and working through based on input. And lastly is some marketing activity. I am also going to be working with Kendra. I've been starting to already draft a communications and marketing plan where we're going to be spending the money this year, moving forward in 2022. But one item that I've already initiated was there is a supplement magazine. There's a variety of magazines out in the economic development field called Area Development, Trade and Industry Development, and Site Selection. They are the three big magazines that focus on corporate executives, site location people, real estate brokers, and we're trying to market Central Wellington. And the initiative there is there is a supplement that's actually attached to this agenda to show you the actual brochure, the actual magazine. And the magazine focuses, as I mentioned, on those sectors, but it's also looking at Ontario. So it's promoting Ontario first, and then we put an ad in there. I'm not sure, Devlin, if you can post what the ad looks like. But we really wanted to focus on a business strategy. And Devlin's going to share the screen of what the ad looks like. That's what the supplement looks like. So you have Minister Videlli, who's the Minister of Job Creation, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, just talking about the future of Ontario from innovation and advanced manufacturing. And then you can see where our ad fits in. Just got to go a little further. There it is. We are focused on business. So I wanted to keep it really simple. We want to just focused on business, took one of our corporate location shots that we have approval for, focus on where we are on the map, and just a key quick tagline on access to global markets, quality of life, and myself as a contact person. What we want to do is drive people to Ontario and then to give them an understanding that there is a place called Central Wellington in Ontario. And that's the whole purpose. And then in addition to this ad, as part of the fee for service, we get what we call a banner. So in the actual magazine website, Trade and Industry, there's going to be an ad banner for 12 months, which rotates and hopefully drives people who look at that banner into our website in Center Wellington. And they'll give us a report on that. So that's just some of the marketing activities. And the last one is the real estate brokers. I've been interfacing with brokers who have land inventory. And the whole idea is just to get aware so we can post on our website. And then the general update is that I attended a agriculture, economic development planning forum through the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. I also worked with the Wellington County's Municipal Economic Development Strategy and Group. And that's what Mayor Linton just spoke about, the housing awareness strategy, which is going to be spoken to later in a committee with Wellington County. And they've retained 3M letter marketing to help with the marketing of that. And there'll be a tabling, I think, a discussion with that today. And industrial land inquiries, I'm going to be following up on all the inquiries to date now. And the reason I want to follow up with each individual inquiry is I want to be able to go back to the evaluation matrix and get more detail so I can table it to the business park subcommittee and how to rate them. And I've developed a new matrix based on the suggestions of the committee, the subcommittee, and we'll be tabling that and actually putting those inquiries against it with a ranking for further discussion. So that's some of the activities I've been working on in the interim since the July meeting.
Well, that's great, George. You're obviously jumping right into this stuff because it's with the business park, the last business park meeting, it was great. You were well prepared and it is moving along very, very well. And a lot of it's with your help.
Well, and the help of the committee, thank you.
Yeah.
We're all working this together. And
yeah, it's a really great committee. It's just stuff just gets done. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I think we need to look at things and see what the priorities are based on those inquiries, and that's going to help us on lot design, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, and what are the, and I got, I think, a ranking I'm feeling comfortable with, which I can table in more detail with the subcommittee.
Great. Okay, 5.4, Healthy Growth Advisory Committee. We had a meeting yesterday and we actually passed we didn't pass. We asked council to consider 3 things. Do you want to do this, Brett? You want me to do it?
I can do it if you like.
Okay.
You may have to add the third thing because I think it was added by the committee and I wasn't at the meeting.
It was, yeah.
But,
yeah.
I do know what it is, but you can elaborate a little bit if I need you to.
Okay.
We've, as you know, the Healthy Growth Advisory Committee, we've also, like this group, we've broken into subcommittees, and we have 2 subcommittees, one of which is looking at attainable housing from the policy and, you know, zoning regulation side, and the other one is looking at it from the financial side. So the policy and zoning subcommittee has been meeting a little more frequently than the financial incentive one. They brought forward a recommendation that we move forward with 2 initiatives, one of which is to take a look at our highway commercial zoning and try to find ways in which in that zone we could make it easier for additional housing units to be developed. So if we have commercial property, we're really trying to encourage mixed use. So if we have a commercial property with commercial on the ground floor, how to get additional residential units above, or even in a separate building on the same site. So we're going to look at the regulations for how those apartment units are created, parking regulations, building heights, to try to find ways to make it easier to increase the supply that way. There's a lot of interest from property owners in creating those additional units. They need a little bit of help with the zoning regs to make it easier to happen. And then secondly, we've talked quite a bit about healthy growth, about I guess it's a replacement for traditional zoning site plan minor variance approvals that's called a community planning permit system. And the provincial government is encouraging municipalities to adopt it as a way to provide, make it easier to get housing brought on stream faster. It provides a little more certainty for developers or builders of housing or anything else as to what the rules are, because they're laid out very clearly in the development or community planning permit system. So that'll take a little bit more time, but that move to get started on the things we need to do to bring forward a community planning permit system is one of the recommendations being brought forward as well. It's key to the attainable housing piece, because one of the things that's in the Planning Act now is the ability for municipalities to use what's called inclusionary zoning, where we might specify that in a certain development, there's a requirement for a portion of the units to be affordable housing. And if you want to use that tool, you have to have a community planning permit system in place. So the Healthy Growth Advisory Committee thinks it's worthwhile to move forward with that community planning permit system so that we can add some certainty to the delivery of attainable housing. And then the third recommendation comes from the Financial Incentives Committee. And as we talked earlier about proceeding with CIP, and it was an endorsement of including housing programs in the CIP update. I don't know, Don, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, the financial incentives group, the CIP does not allow for, it concentrates more on facades and that sort of stuff of Main Street. It doesn't get into maybe altering when these development charges are paid, so there can be delayed, but we have to have council's approval to actually add this to the CIP process. So it's going to give us one more tool to help the developers get more housing on stream. Anything else, Kelly? That's the sum of it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what we wanted to make sure happened at the Healthy Growth Committee yesterday is that we had that committee's endorsement of using the community improvement plan as a way to pursue some of the incentive programs. We recognize that we can't go too far down the path of providing the details about what those incentives are until we get council's support to do that. So we wanted to provide our endorsement as a committee that goes to council in October of those three recommendations. And the third one being that we use the CIP as a toolbox to allow some of those financial incentives to take root. And so that's the one that we wanted to make. It's a little bit awkward because we have to have discussions that go beyond what council has provided direction for in order to understand if that's what the committee really feels like is important to move ahead on. But then we have to step back and not go too far down that path until council endorses the direction that we're going down. So that's what has to happen in October. So we got to where we need to be. We unanimously approved those three pieces of direction that's going to council in October. The other thing that we did is we gave direction to the financial incentives subcommittee to look at the feasibility and compare deferring some development charges versus reducing development charges for attainable housing projects. So they have direction from the committee to have a discussion and to do a little bit of a deep dive on that. So we've kind of given them their direction for their next meeting, because we really have to discuss that and get something to council when it comes to DCs. So I think that rounds it off, Don. I think that those are the main things that we talked about yesterday.
Yep, that's great. Thank you. Just a question, I guess, to Brett and to Kelly. Do we need to, as the Economic Development Task Force, do we need to do something to council to support what the Healthy Growth is doing?
Well, my thought on that is
Just a thought, just so that,
with your involvement there, Don, if you could support it from a healthy growth perspective and bring in some of your feedback as being the chair of Economic Development Task Force, I think that's all that's needed at this point. We really want to make sure that it's clear to council when we meet on October the 18th that this is coming from the Healthy Growth Advisory Committee, and we're not making things confusing.
Right.
It's not coming from economic development, but economic development is aligned to it. So if you can bring a comment or two that is alignment, and this has gone through economic development as an information item, I think that's all we need to do. Would you agree, Brett?
I think that makes sense. Yes.
the only problem is I'm going to be away. So
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So we'll just make sure that Dawn has the comments, Dawn Fisher has the comments
that would be
that
good.
are needed. Yeah, that it's gone through this committee and this committee is aware of it, and it's consistent with what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So things are moving ahead, which is really nice to see. Little advances here and there, but it all helps to get us to where we want to go. Next one is Business Park Strategy Working Group. Like George has mentioned, we had a really good meeting a week ago, and he did come up with the Fergus and Elora, where there are industrial lands available, and whether they're possible to develop or not. So it was really good. George did a lot of research on what's out there, and we helped him get focused on what we think could actually be used. So the drawings are just about finished. Maybe Brett, did you get a couple of comments on that? Like maybe where the progress of the drawings and stuff?
Sure. We're at the point where in order for us to extend Dixon Drive out to First Line, that's a municipal project that falls under the provincial class environmental assessment rules. So we're in the middle of going through a class environmental assessment, it's called, and Triton are leading that work. We have sub-consultants working on an environmental impact study because there's a wetland out there. We have heritage consultants doing an evaluation of the house that's on the property. We're doing an archaeological assessment. All of those different things are all coming together. And in the next couple of months, there'll be one of the steps in the Class EA process is a report that lays out different options. And there's a public information center requirement. So that'll come pretty soon. And I'm just reviewing a draft report on the evaluation, laying out those different options. So we'll have more of a firm plan for the industrial park or the business park soon. As George mentioned, what we're trying to do is look at the inquiries we've got. The business park strategy report that was adopted by council talked about lot sizes being generally between 1 to 5 acres. We're looking at the inquiries we got. The majority of them do fall in that range. There's been a couple that are looking for a little bit more land. So we're trying to figure out the best, how to optimize the layout so that we can identify where there's room for a lot that's a little bit bigger. We're also trying to assess the need for the, one of the things in the report is whether or not we do phase 1, which is just taking Dixon Drive, and then also to create some smaller lots to build a cul-de-sac, which we've labeled as Dixon Court in the short term. But one of the options that McSweeney meant is that Dixon Court might not be needed if the demand for those smaller lots isn't there. So that's one of the exercises that George and I will go through, trying to determine whether we have a sense at this point whether we're going to need to go ahead with the second phase, or whether we can meet our needs with the first phase. And obviously then that reduced the cost of the industrial park, and we're in and out sooner than that's better. We can move on to other areas. It's all coming together on track. We should be in good shape to be servicing next spring.
Good. It's great. It's really good to be part of that committee and see this actually come together, and it's coming together about as quick as possible. So it's great. And to have, I think, George, you can correct me, I think there's 13 inquiries. Oh, you're still on mute. There you are.
There you go. Yes, actually 14. I have a total of 14 inquiries. One I deferred over because I've referred it to another site, so that we had 15 in total. But they've gone to another site in our inventory, so 14 to date. And they are in the range of 1 to 5, and there's one exception around 7.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's coming together really well. It's good and it's needed. I mean, if we got that many inquiries, obviously people want to set up businesses here, and we need it. Yes, Bob.
This question is for George. George, before you joined us, we had talked a lot about communicating with our existing businesses because history had shown us that almost half the growth and expansion came from our existing businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if in your transition, if there's anything we should be doing with our existing businesses to give them an update of where we're at with this new business park. Just as a courtesy, just maybe they're looking at expanding and they might move over and then get another business into theirs.
That's a very good point. The majority of the inquiries, actually, when I look at it, the inquiries to date are all 95% are existing businesses within the township.
Oh, okay.
And one is just outside the township, but within Wellington County.
All right, well, my question's irrelevant then, sorry.
Well, no, I think we still, with the fact sheet though, I think we still need to, we want to post it on the website, maybe share it with the Centre Wellington Chamber of Commerce, and just to make people aware of the business park and the status of it and its availability. And the whole idea of the process of intent to purchase in the land sale process, which we'll detail a little later on this committee, is to get that registered so we get a better idea. But through word of mouth, I'm getting a lot of inquiries, I think, through word of mouth. And the reason I want to also focus on the real estate broker community is make them aware of the business park when they deal with clients as well.
Great, thanks.
Yes, George, the getting it in through the chamber is a really good way to get it out because they have a really good distribution. So great. Anything else on that? Anybody got any questions on the business park at all? Kelly?
Just an update on the branding and the entrance features. How's that coming?
I think the sign, the approval of the sign that the committee made, I think we got to take it to the next step, which is to get a vendor to actually get the costing of what the cost of each sign would be in terms of the length, the width, the height. I think we've had a discussion generally on where the location is. Brett, I may have to defer that one over to you in terms of what our next step is.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head,
Okay.
George. It's we've got to get an actual design. We've got the I think set in motion a branding that we're comfortable with on the subcommittee, and then it's a matter of, as you say, determining the size of the sign and then figuring out where they're going to go, so that gets integrated into the plans. But the vision is that we'll have we want to distinguish the new business park from the existing business park. So when you come into the new road off of First Line, there'll be a sign there that's visible, hopefully visible even as soon as you turn the corner off the county road. And then another one where the current Dixon ends and the extension begins, we'll put another new sign there. And the way the recommendation in the business park strategy is we want the new business park to look very different than the existing one. It's a different road standard, a higher standard. So we want to make that transition clear with a new sign that you're into the Center Wellington North Business Park now.
Yes, Kelly?
Yeah, so when's the time? All sounds good. What's the timelines for kind of the next step for getting more of a design and a costing?
I think our objective is to find a landscape architect that could do that work for us, and then we'll bring it to the next meeting of the business park subcommittee. I envision we'll have another meeting of that group before the end of the month.
Well, maybe we can use Andy. He's going to be retired in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe he can do it before he leaves. It always pays to be at meetings.
yeah.
Sometimes you,
Right.
sometimes if you aren't at a meeting, you wind up with something that you didn't necessarily want. But anyhow, okay. Next item, economic recovery working group. Now I see Sally's.
I'm here, Don.
You're there? Okay.
I am, yep.
Do you want to run through the stuff we've done, or do you want me to run through?
I can take a crack at it. I apologize. I'm having a migraine today, so I'm sitting in a dark room, so no video. The Google My Business workshops we ran through the spring, so April, May, and June. The recordings of those are now live on our website, so they're accessible for anyone for free to work through on their own. We do have some funds left from that project because that was funded by the county. So just deciding whether we want to do another Google workshop live, or if we want to offer, we've had some demand for like a LinkedIn workshop or something like that. There's sort of two schools of thought there. One, that anyone who wanted to participate perhaps had 3 chances to do so in the spring and now has the recording. So do we offer something different? Or do we capture those people who want and need to participate in person? So we'll sort of chat on that and figure out what to do, but that would probably be happening. We'd like to see that happen in November and sort of wrap that up. The digital welcome wagon is in the process of going live. So we have put that out to membership and through some of our partners, aiming for like a slow trickle in so that we can fine tune that website before it goes out live to new residents. Peter and I have worked on getting those notepads. So those are on the way. And so again, that's the notepads that are going to the realtors and builders to leave for new residents, and then directing them to a website filled with offers and coupons and awareness ads for businesses in the community. So that whole idea of if it would be helpful to the business to let the newcomers know that they exist, then this is available to them. I see Peter, notepads are ordered, so they should be here soon. The last project, I feel like we had a third project there, but I'm drawing a bit of a blank. Those are the 2 big ones that we had worked on. We do have at the moment, and we'll offer this out, I'm looping back around here to the Google, on loan from one of our chamber friends, we have a 360 camera. So I think we'll reach out to all the people who participated in the Google workshops and then a little bit beyond there, because we can now very easily come by and record a 360 image, which is really helpful to add to the Google My Business profile. So that is something that we will reach out and touch base back with those Google My Business participants, because they look pretty cool. And then through your Google My Business profile, someone can theoretically take a bit of a tour of your space. So we are going to borrow that from Minto for as long as they will let us, and film as many businesses as we can using that. Am I missing a project, Don?
Yes, The first one was with Crystal. We hired 2 people. So what the problem was that we identified was that if you brought up Google Maps, only about a third of the businesses at the time had a Google web page, so they wouldn't come up on Google Maps. So the idea was to get, Crystal helped us fund this, get a couple of guys to contact each of the ones on the main street in both towns, and any of the businesses, in fact, to help them get up their free one page so that they will at least show up on Google Maps. That was the key. That was sort of the idea. And it worked. I was looking at it the other day, and there's probably 80% or more businesses come up on the Google Maps now, as opposed to what it was like last spring. It's a big difference. Peter was all part of this. And so it was a really good thing to get recognition. So just so everybody knows, there's about 1,000 people come in to Center Wellington every year. And generally people buy goods where they work. So if somebody worked in Guelph, they'll shop in Guelph. And we're trying to get that changed through, number one, through making sure that their business comes up on Google Maps, because a lot of people use it to find places. And the second one is the welcome wagon. There is no more welcome wagon. Apparently it went bankrupt a year and a half ago with COVID. And so the whole idea is these pads will go out to real estate people to give to homeowners when they move in. So they'll keep it by their phone. They'll have I haven't seen the draft of it, but the idea was to, around the outside would be the names of the businesses that are supporting it. And people could go into a website and download not a brochure, but a ticket that would let them go to that business. And like Peter was giving away a free pair of socks with the shoes, that sort of stuff. And it's really just to get the new people coming in to get into Peter's store. That's the whole goal of it. So, yeah.
And other people's stores too, Don.
Yeah. There's more than one store on it.
I love them to come to mind, but
yeah, but that's sort of the process. That's the process we kind of dreamed up, and it was the recovery committee was great. Some of these ideas we got on Zoom and we just developed the stuff. It was just sort of came out of nowhere, but it was really quite good. We haven't had a meeting for quite a while. We in Center Wellington are reasonably lucky with our businesses. We lost a few, but we didn't lose like some places have lost the whole main street. So anyhow, I think that pretty well covers it, Peter and Sally.
I just had one other update just for this group that relates to all of this. We applied and were recipients of a Shop Local grant through the federal government strategic activities program and funneled through the Ontario Chamber. So we're receiving over $90,000, which we're using in partnership with the other chambers in the county. It's for Shop Local marketing initiatives. So between now and January 31st, we're going to run a pretty comprehensive campaign. The thought being that between us and BIAs and other partners, municipalities, et cetera, we're all trying to keep Shop Local front of mind, but we're developing content on our own. So the fund will create libraries of content and little mini toolkits. Then the thought being that if we share that across multiple partners and multiple platforms, we're amplifying the message. People are seeing it multiple times and are being reminded to shop local and support local. So that just hit the news yesterday. And there's sort of some further pieces coming. There'll be little video documentaries for each center within the county and a few other pieces. But that was heavily inspired by the group and just really needed to remind people that everything is right here in Wellington County. Just have to look here first. So.
Yeah, that was the whole thrust of it, is try to get people to buy here. Anybody got any questions on that at all? Nope. Okay, I guess the next one is Agricultural Zoning Working Group. Janet.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, our group met last week, and we are in the process of reviewing some agricultural related documents from other neighboring municipalities that have gone through a review of their bylaws to be able to make sure that they have all of the framework in place to be able to include the provincial planning document language in the municipal documents, so that when agricultural businesses want to expand their business, that the arching regulatory piece at the municipality is in place. So the expansion of the provincial policy statement around agriculture related businesses, diversified on-farm businesses, farm home industry businesses, looking at what all of those are, looking at both Erin and Guelph Massa have done a review, and they have done some really good work around this. So we're reviewing their documents, looking what we want to include, and then with Brett's Eagle Planning Eye, reviewing them to say what else do we need to include? What is some of the wording we want to change to be able to allow expanded agricultural use within the municipality? Also aware of some of the potential retail or commercial components of agriculture, and that will be treated differently in terms of development charges, site planning, and pulling all of the existing nutrient management type MDS regulations and kind of pulling it all together to be able to update what the municipality has. Also, we had well, actually, I guess I'll ask Brad if he wanted to add anything else to that.
Sure. I think, Janet, just might be worthwhile noting that we are also, if we do bring forward an amendment to the agricultural zoning, it'll include provision for a second dwelling on a farm, similar to what we may eventually do in the urban area. But we're seeing right now that there's more demand in the rural areas for that second residence. We're also looking at, from some work that's happened down in the Essex County area in Leamington, at some regulations dealing with on-farm worker housing that we'll bring forward in the same bylaw. And similarly, the Erin bylaw that Janet referred to, they're looking at housing to support agritourism, and that'll be part of our review as well.
Thanks. The other part of our meeting is we did have the member from Center Wellington, right? You'll have to help me with his name, from the IT department, that came and spoke about options for extending broadband into the rural community through point-to-point towers that access fiber. So that's an ongoing project to be able to kind of fill those gaps. And I'm reaching out to my farmer friends and neighbors in Center Wellington to see if there's people that are having deficits in their internet that they would like to be part of a pilot project.
Cool.
Then just to add to that, if I can, Dawn, the idea is the Center Wellington Township has a communications company, and they own the township sort of backbone fiber.
Great.
And that's the connection that we have a potential to partner with a wireless internet provider. So the idea is to look for gaps. Some of the other private companies that are doing wireless communication on towers are not connected to a fiber, they're connected between the towers. So the idea that Center Wellington Communications has is that we could put up some towers that are connected to our fiber, so the base speed would be faster.
That'd be great for everybody, especially Janet. She has trouble up there all the time. Doing pretty well today, Janet.
Yeah, the kids are back. The kids are back in school. That's what's made the difference.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think next steps for our committee, we're going to meet again and review the documents. Staff are putting together a report of the zoning bylaws for agriculture. So we will take a look at those and report back once we've done some more work.
Great. It's really good to see all these different things that we're working on. All of it is moving ahead. We are getting some stuff done here, and it's really good for the community. So that gets us to the end of the updates. Has anybody got anything else? Yes, Tony.
Just
There you
take
go.
myself off mute. Just wanted to quickly update the group, Don. Digital Main Street, I know many have used that program, particularly within the town centers. We're on the third iteration of it, and it has now been extended to rural and agricultural businesses. As something that I'm not sure that everybody is aware of, are those agricultural businesses that have a brick and mortar facility and are commercially assessed for taxation purposes. So for example, a farm retail store, an ag-related business, produce manufacturing equipment, anything along those lines are now able to access funding through the Digital Main Street program. It's interesting just talking about accessibility on the web, and at the same time, there's a program to assist those businesses with a transformation grant for upgrading their digital footprint and abilities. So just thought I'd bring that to the group.
That's good. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Janet is happy to hear that one. Yeah. I guess that gets us to the other. This is a record. Anything else at all, or anybody wants to bring up? Yes, Kelly?
Just one quick thing, based on George's report, it's really good to see those things happening, and there's a lot of different things that George has been up to, and it's good that they're being covered off, and the interaction between George and other individuals and the businesses, and that's exactly what we need here. I'm just wondering if, George, if you need anything from this group based on your updates. Do you need any advice, any feedback, anything from this group of experts here to get anything done over the next month?
Yes, Mayor Kelly. What I'm going to be doing is, once I go through the business park subcommittee with their feedback and I can vet something, I'm going to shoot it back up to this committee, and then we can go from there. But there will be some advice when we look at the finalization or ideas of lot design, marketing of the business park, ideas like that. When it comes to fruition, I will take it from the subcommittee to this committee and then to council if necessary. Even I was starting to draft what I call the you mentioned communications and marketing plan, how I'm going to spend the money and why. I think it's needed to have something down on paper moving forward. So yes, by all means. And then any other things that come up. I think the other thing I'm sort of picking up, and please correct me, there's so many different activities going on. Digital Main Street, Central Wellington Shop Local, the grant that Sally just mentioned. It's how to begin to connect all those dots and make sure what's our role as the township. Do we put it on our website? And how do we begin to market that to support these various groups?
Mm-hmm.
And even when we go the agriculture's rezoning, for instance, here's another thing. Once we get that through and it goes through all the planning process and council's approval, how do we market those opportunities to the agriculture sector through Janet? And explain here, you have an access to Digital Main Street if you have a farm retail operation. Or by the way, if you're going to do this kind of diversification, here's what's allowed or not allowed. So it's how to think through all these various ideas that are coming through here and mapping it out. Yeah,
that's really good, George, because it is how do we get this stuff out. And I know from the past year with rolling out some of the stuff in the community that Sally has been invaluable because she has the members and it goes in through the BIAs. So it really gets running stuff through Sally is whatever we can, whatever capacity Sally has. That would be the other thing, I guess. But she is able to get stuff out to a large part of the community, like really efficiently.
Yeah.
And we can, on that note, we can share, I mean, not quite whatever you want, whenever you want, but you just let me know and we can make that happen.
Yeah, it's really great. She's got a great system there. And Peter knows as well. It's amazing. Yes, Janet?
And George, to your comment, one of the pieces that we always struggle with from the agricultural piece, there is a large sector of Wellington County for sure, but significant in Center Wellington of Mennonite community and communities that would probably not go to the township website to look at that information. So we've always struggled to work and figure the best way to reach out to that sector, and found that bulletin boards in feed stores and retail stores and different things like that, paper newsletters. I know people don't like that because they get outdated, but something that they can pick up and take with them as a reference. There are different ways, but the whole communication piece for sure needs to be targeted and coordinated, but it has to have multiple layers of not just the website, not just social media, so that we can capture different demographics on how they read or look digitally and a combination of both.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, try to let the Mennonites know it's I don't know, could we go in through the churches or? Oh.
No, yeah, no, they won't let you go through the church, but you can talk to the bishop. And when you talk with the bishop, when they have their meetings, it'll come up as a conversation piece, the church piece itself. So yes, indirectly through the church, through the bishop, but not as sort of a function of the church. It's more that structure that's created and the hierarchy of decision making within a Mennonite culture. And I do have a contact who does work with the Mennonite community and does have interactions with the bishop and would be able to help us to disseminate some of this information.
Good. Well, George, I think you can see that there's a lot of expertise around the table here, and I'm sure every one of us would welcome your call if you have something that you want to try to get done.
Yeah, and I think I have to build that into my own work plan, Don, is to spend an X amount of time on the business relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own check-in system. And I really think it's important because just listening to Janet, I picked up 3 or 4 different things
Yeah.
that I didn't even think about. And even Tony posted something that I thought, okay, yeah, okay. And so these are the kind of things I've got to get back in. And I've been trying to get out and build those relationships, but you balance some other workload activities, but that's what it is. But I think that's really important. I think it's getting, people just aren't aware. Organizations are just not, we are as organizations are aware, but the group that we're marketing to is not aware of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where the opportunities exist, because if we're looking at our existing base, our economic base, how do we grow it? I mean, traction is 1%, maybe 5% of the investment. The 95% is the existing base, and how do we grow it?
Right.
Foster it.
And Mennonites in our community are significant, and they've got lots of businesses on their farms, and if we can help them develop them, it's all part of what we should be doing. So, okay, I'd like to thank everybody, and if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Don.